Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying spooky season. And if you would like to see how I turned this into that, please keep watching. I started out by removing the tags for my 3 small pumpkins. For my cat ears, I use this black plastic folder. Using a marker, I trace out the shape of a cat ear. After that, I just put it up against the pumpkin to see if I like the shape and fixed it if need be. And then I opened up my folder and ripped out these little plastic parts. They are very easy to rip out. It didn't take much force at all. I then held the folder together very firmly and cut out the shape of the cat ear. I then put my cat ears on my pumpkin to see if I like the shape, and then I just trimmed up the edges to make it look as smooth as possible. I then used one of those cat ears to trace out 2 more sets of cat ears. I was really happy with the way the ears turned out, and remember that the folder is so big you have more room in case you make any mistakes and you want to make new ears. Here I'm showing what paints I'm going to use to paint the ears and the pumpkins. Before I painted any of my pumpkins, I used some painter's tape to cover up the stem to make sure that no paint got on the stem. I spray painted my other 2 pumpkins, but this pumpkin I had to paint it with acrylic paint because the craft store had no orange spray paint, so here I am just sponging on all of the color. I painted the pumpkin and ears 3 coats each, and I made sure to use a brush to get as close to the stem as I possibly could. After my pumpkins had dried, they're ready for their ears. I made sure to put the stem backwards instead of sideways because I didn't want it to block any of the ears. A little bit of paint had came off my tiger ears, but that's okay because we're going to paint over them anyways. After I placed the ears where I wanted them, I then removed them and I used a box cutter to make some slits on the sides of each of the pumpkin. I wanted to make sure that they were able to stick in firmly so I wouldn't need any glue, but later I'm going to put Mod Podge on it, so don't worry, it will stick in place. I then used a ruler to make sure my slits were even. These pumpkins are foam with a plastic outer coat, so once you make your initial poke through, they're really easy to slice. While cutting my slits, I made sure to move my box cutter from side to side just to make sure that the slit was a little bit wider and the ear would go in easily. I put the ears in the slit and made sure that the end of the ear was 1 finger away from the stem just so it didn't look like the ears were too close together. I made sure the slits were long enough that both cat ears would stick in completely and none of the edges would be sticking out. Then I did the exact same thing to my tiger and my panther. It did take me a while to do the first pumpkin, but after I got the hang of it, the other 2 were pretty easy and fast to do. After the ears were done, it was time to paint on the designs. My Black Panther was completely done, so I put that to the side and got to painting the designs on the other pumpkins. Using brown paint, I painted on my leopard spots. The brush I used was stiff and it had a fan shape. It looked like it replicated hair when I painted it on, so I really liked it. This brush came in a pack from the Dollar Tree. To make the leopard spots, you just need to make these little U shapes or these C shapes and then dots everywhere. Using that same brush, I used black paint to outline all of my brown dots. I made like a C shape around my little U shapes of brown and then just put little dots everywhere. When you go around the brown dots, make sure that you don't close up the black circle so it kind of looks like a C and there's a little bit of an opening. I really like the effect this brush gives. When you stipple it on, it gives the illusion of fur, and I think it looks very realistic and pretty cool. I felt like my leopard was missing a little something, so I put a little bit of black paint on the edges of the ears. After I put down all the colors I'll be using on my tiger, I then cut the end of my sponge to make sure the end was smooth, and then I used that to stipple on some white on the bottom middle half of the tiger as well as the bottom middle of the ears. Some parts of the white looked a little too opaque, so I used the back of the sponge to kind of smooth that out and absorb any excess paint, and then I painted on my ears. I used the same paintbrush I used on the leopard for my tiger, and here I'm just practicing it out on the paper plate just to see if I can get the design that I wanted, and then I put it all over my pumpkin. When I stippled my stripes on the front, I just made sure not to connect them in the middle so it kind of looked like a face, and I went around the ears as well. For the back of the tiger, I did connect some of the stripes and I put some on his ears. After I finished with my black stripes, I mixed yellow and orange with a little bit of white until I got the color I wanted, and I put those stripes in between the black, making sure that the orange still was showing. I also put that yellow color in the middle of the ears. I'm really happy with the way the tiger turned out. I wasn't sure how I was going to go about doing the tiger, but as I started getting the hang of it and really liking it. I just touched up some of the black, the white, and the yellow. If you are remaking this at home, don't get discouraged if everything doesn't look completely symmetrical, because every tiger in the world looks different and all of their designs are completely unique. For my Pump-Kittens whiskers, I used some floral wire. You can use uncooked spaghetti or even toothpicks. I just used the floral wire because I liked that it was bendable and I could move their little whiskers around. I cut the wire about 1 foot long and I folded that in half and then cut that, and then I cut little pieces kind of like a pinky length long. So if you have a pinky, just use the length of that. And then I cut them into 6 little pieces, so I had 3 whiskers on each side. I used white paint to paint all of my whiskers. I just kind of separated them so they weren't touching each other and stippled white paint all over them and just set them aside to dry. I wanted all my Pump-Kittens to be shiny, so my Black Panther was shiny, it was fine, and I just painted Mod Podge on the other 2. I put a lot of Mod Podge on the tiger. It was dripping everywhere, which was great because I wanted it to have tons on it. Don't worry, it won't move the paint around, and then I used a sponge to kind of smooth out all of the paint. I kind of like the streaky look it gave it because it kind of replicates fur. And here I did the exact same thing with my leopard. I love how the glue made it so shiny and beautiful, and it even helped the ears stay in place. Now that all my Pump-Kittens are beautiful and shiny, it's time to put their whiskers on. I used this tool from my boyfriend. I have no idea what this tool is for. Please don't ask me. And I just poked holes, 3 on each side of the face. And you can't really see it with the designs of the tiger and the leopard. So in a bit, I will pull it closer to the Black Panther so you can see how I put the whiskers in. I pulled my panther towards me just so I could make my first initial hole, and then I used that tool to kind of make sure that they were aligned and even, and then I poked my other hole. I wanted them to look like they had like kind of a triangle effect, like a sideways triangle. So here you'll see me make another hole underneath the first one, but more towards the outer edge of the face, and I'm going to do that on both sides. And this is what I mean by the triangle shape. Now that all my holes are done, I just put my whiskers in. They fit perfectly. I didn't need to use any glue, and then I got to move them around just to make sure they were exactly where I wanted them because they're super bendable. I know there's so many cat lovers out there and people who love pumpkins, so I thought to put them together it would be Pump-Kittens instead of Pumpkins, and the kins was kittens. I just thought it was such a cute idea, and I really hope you guys like it as well. And here's the final result. I love them so much. They are so cute. And I wanted you guys to see what they look like with their cubs next to them because they're just adorable. If you do recreate this, please tag me. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share, subscribe if you're not already. And I wanted each pumpkin to get their Beyonce moment, so they got to be in the middle in each of the pictures. And thank you so much again, and I will see you guys on Friday.